Hi everyone, Art with Artemis here, and today I will show you how I made this cutout of Naruto. Preface, getting supplies. We will be using Bienfang Watercolor Paper that's acid-free, 11 inches by 15 inches. It is very similar to cardstock paper. It's more thick in comparison, and the paper has a slight bumpy feel, unlike cardstock. So we will be using this today for today's project. You will be using markers, colored pencils, and you'll be using some scissors. I recommend using 2 pencils for this project, just in case one happens to break. Also, it's good to have the pencils with erasers on them, because we'll be erasing it a lot. I will be using a uni-ball vision pen that is fine-tipped and fade-proof and waterproof. It's very useful for line art, and we will be using it for this project. Also, if you have an extra spare eraser, such as this one, or a pink eraser, that will be well needed for this project. If you have any marks or stain marks on it, you can get rid of it by just wiping it on the piece of paper, and it will go away, and your eraser will be fine. So let's get started. Phase 1, sketching. I'm going to be using my reference on my phone. If you want to look up the same photo to get a better look at it, feel free to do that. It's called Naruto Shippuden Friendly Piano Recital Music Book. Yeah, that's apparently a thing. But either way, we'll be using this as a reference because I like the pose and how it's going. So we're going to do that. We will be drawing the midline of the face and lightly sketching that in, so that way we have an idea of what angle he's going to be looking at. Lightly add in a little light curve. We're gonna sketch this in the opposite direction. Instead of just going up and down, we're going left to right. We're doing this because it's where the lower part of the eyes are gonna be, so we're gonna get an idea of what that. And I'm gonna add in the side of the to get an idea of what the shape of the face is gonna be. We're gonna add a top line. Since my midline is too high, I'm going to try and add another line a little bit lower than that. And now I'm going to erase that, so that way I don't have to see the other line and get confused by it. Instead of drawing the eyes straight on, we're going to add a small line where we're going to box the eyes, and we lightly sketch that in. And it shows where the start is, right there, as you can tell from the reference. And we're going to add another line to show where the end of that eye is. The reason why I'm doing this is because you don't want to accidentally draw one eye higher than the other, or make the other one smaller. When I was learning to draw, I made this mistake quite frequently. So yeah, I recommend doing this to draw the eyes. Since we have our midline, we can be able to chart where the nose is going to be. And then we're going to continue and work on the eyes. We're going to add a curved line in a minute, but since my line's too tall, I'm going to try and make it a little bit smaller. As we draw the top curve of the eye, try not to start in the exact middle, but try to go above it, if that makes sense. Not exactly on the middle of that eye line. So we add the end of the eye by adding a small little line, and I'm going to continue making that a little bit darker so we can see it. And I'll sketch out the eye to get an idea of where the eye is going to be looking at. And I'm going to continue adding the facial features. We're going to make sure we work on the other eye too. I'm likely going to be sketching in the eyebrows to get an idea better and add extra detail. We continue by adding where the neck is going to be. Since he has a collar, I'm going to start just slowly shaping that out. I should probably add a pupil to this guy and try and see what direction he's looking at. Also make sure you're doing this to the other eye. I'm going to lightly sketch in the lines to form the headband. We're going to continue working on the edge, make it a little bit thicker than on the actual head to make it show that it's on the head and it's not just one line connected to the head. I'm going to add the top line of the headband and make sure I get the sideburns to figure out how big this band is going to be, and add a little bit of the collar line maybe. started by adding some of the hair. It's kind of pointy, and it's hard for me to draw. I've tried drawing Naruto before, but his hair is the only part that's really difficult for me personally. For me, I always have a hard time with the top 3, 4 to 5 spikes of his hair. It always gives me trouble. So I'm gonna just try and redo this and make him actually a little bit more curved than pointy, so I can get a better idea of what I'm trying to do with his hair. So we have the hair, the face, and some of the neck. So we're gonna continue and work on the rest of the body. And we're gonna possibly work on the hand over here, as you can see on my phone. And we're gonna try and figure out how to get his pose down. We'll lightly sketch some of his collar. We're not gonna go into exact fine details. We're just trying to get the main shape of this and how it goes with the body, and his arm and his shoulder and back. So it's not all choppy, or like one side's too big or too small. We're not going to worry about doing the details of the collar yet. We're just going to focus on mostly getting the shapes down, and we will work on it later, so don't worry about it. I'm going to start working on the shape of his back and where his shoulder position is going to be, and that thing on his arm is. And I'm trying to also sketch out where the hand is so I can cut it out properly and not have the hand missing. And I want to add some part of his shoulder, his forearm, that's up in the air. And I'm gonna sketch out the shapes of his hand. Not exact detailed yet, but just to get a base idea of where the arm could possibly be. I'm gonna add this here. And I'm gonna try and fix the chest part. Because he's crunched up, he's gonna have like creases and folds in his jacket, and they follow along with the zipper. So we're gonna work on that. So I continue by adding the shape of his jacket, making sure the creases are there. We're going to add the curves of his shirt towards his forearm, so we can make sure it works where the hand could possibly be. And I'm going to add a smile. And I'm going to add his little whiskers or scars. I'm not really sure because I never watched Naruto before. I'm familiar with certain characters or different stories, but I'm thinking about watching it sometime soon. Now I'm going to add more detail to the shoulder and have his sleeves more defined and detailed and show the creases of the sleeve, and try and redo that hand because I need to get that fixed, which is really important because his arm is curved. I want to give the illusion that the hand is in the front and that you can still see the bend of his arm. It's important to remember, like, if you have a hard time with hands, try and look at your own hand to help. It's kind of difficult as that, even though it sounds easy, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot easier down the road. And try to erase any lines that are causing you problems that you can't see the full picture. Also, his pinky is kind of bent, so the way his hand is, it's more straight like that, the way I'm posing my hand. So I'm going to try and copy it. So we continue with the lower half of his body, his legs, and we're trying to figure out how to get the pose accurate. Since the bottom of the page won't let me show all of his leg, I'm going to try and make the leg curved instead. It's just my personal preference. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just going to use this way instead. I'm going to zoom in and try and erase some of the lines that we don't need and sketch out the creases of the pants. Since we are pretty much done with the majority of the body, we are going to continue one important detail, the hand. We got to finish his fist up there, and we're going to try and fix that up. So we're going to sketch out the sleeve and try and get the simple shapes of the hand. If you need help with that, look at the reference, or just try looking at your own hand and see how your hand does a fist. This is a very rough start for the fist for me, so I'm going to add a little bit more detail and try and fix the position of the arms and the wrist. So we have pretty much completed the sketching part of drawing Naruto. If you want to do any touch-ups, go ahead and do that, but this pretty much is the end of our sketching phase. Phase 2, line art. So you will be using your uni-ball vision pen that I talked about at the beginning of this video and trace over everything of your sketch. You don't have to trace over any stray marks that you do not want in your final product. Then once you've finished, you erase all over. Don't worry if you miss a couple spots, you can always go back and get them. And if you see any problems with your line art, you can go ahead and touch that up. And then you are done. Phase 3, basic color. I'm only coloring in the standard colors of Naruto with my colored pencils. Make sure you have a scratch paper next to you. Also, I am using markers where I have a yellow for the hair, gray for the shirt, orange for the, just different things like that. And if you want, you can go back and you can extra detail these things. Phase 4, cutting around the edges. So you're gonna grab your scissors and you're gonna cut around the edge of your picture. Make sure you go nice and slow because you don't want to screw up and accidentally cut off a finger or a strand or whatever. You don't want to have that happen. So I recommend you go very slow. But yeah, this is the final product. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to see more of my artwork. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell. And until next time, bye!